The Chicago Bulls fall to 6-2 after getting cooked by Giannis Antetokounmpo for 41 points. Milwaukee just came out with more energy, better execution, and more urgency to get that win than the Chicago Bulls. But guess what? The Bulls can't sulk in that loss because we're right back to it today as the Bulls take on the Cavs today. A battle of the number 2 and number 3 teams in the Eastern Conference. We'll talk about those things, and we're going to dive into the mailbag. All that and more right after this. What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host there, Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content today, y'all. And the Chicago Bulls lost to the Milwaukee Bucks. There are a number of reasons why the Bulls lost to the Bucks in that game last night. And at the end of the day, not only did Giannis score 41 points, the Bucks shot over 40% from three-point range. The Bulls' lack of energy was something that was evident throughout that game as well. And it just, unfortunately, that it didn't come out in the Bulls' favor. And one of the things that we've talked about with this Bulls team to watch is that when a team does get hot from three-point range, how are the Bulls going to counteract to that? And with Giannis also going off for 40 points, Miles Turner having his best offensive game of the season so far, it didn't go the Bulls' favors. Now, there were some times in that game where the Bulls did get some stops, but they weren't able to convert it to scoring on the other side of the ball. As a matter of fact, there was a period of time where the Bulls went almost 4 minutes without a bucket. And it's not that the Bulls weren't getting stops there. It's just that they couldn't convert on the opposite side. And while they got stops, the Bucks still did convert. The Bulls lost on a lot of hustle stats yesterday as well. And that just goes. This is a young Bulls team that is still learning how to win as a team. But let's be clear here. There's no excuse in the NBA, and the Bulls have to perform better consistently against the better teams if they're going to want to be taken seriously in this stretch. That just comes with the territory. So, the Bulls took a punch in the face. They got punched in the mouth yesterday. Yet again, they got punched in the mouth against New York, and then they responded pretty well after that. But, again, the Bulls have to learn to catch momentum, and they have to learn to respond to these things. The Bulls are never going to win every game. And, so I don't get too down on this team, in regards to where we are right now. We're 6-2. And I want to be clear. If somebody told you that this Bulls team, regardless of how they got there, we're 6-2 to start the season, most people would take that. But it seems like now, because of the excitement around the team, it's almost now that this thing is shifted because now people are just kind of waiting to see how the Chicago Bulls are going to, fall off the wagon, so to say, again. And teams are just waiting for that for the Bulls. And, to some degree, I can kind of understand it. I mean, I'm going to be objective about it. And knowing what this team has been throughout the years, I'm sure that there's somebody that most people are waiting and seeing like, hey, is this thing going to hold true? Or are they going to fall off completely? What's going to happen here? And it is what it is. It is what it is. The Bulls are going to have to deal with that. But I do think that teams are starting around the NBA atmosphere. People are starting to realize that, hey, this Bulls team could be really, really good this season. Now, do I expect them to stay top 3 in the East all season long? Something like that? No. But for where the Bulls have been the last couple of years, I'll tell you this, even if the Bulls finish with a top 6, finish a record and avoid the play-in, that's quite a step in the right direction after being in the play-in basically since the play-in started to be a thing. So that's something that the Bulls are going to have to do and focus on, right? So no excuses at all for this team. You got to go out. If you want to be this tough team that you mentioned that you want to be, and people actually did have you messed up with their preseason predictions. More on that here in a second. The Bulls are going to have to consistently, perform better. And the Bulls fell to now the number 2 team in the East with the Cleveland Cavaliers coming in here tonight, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit of a second. But as much as the Bulls' loss last night against the Bucks sucked, which it really did. You're now starting to see like the odds makers start to change on some things with the Bulls, right? Keep in mind, the Bulls came into the season projected to win. I had an over or under of 32.5 games, right? Which was 4th lowest in the Eastern Conference. Now, when you look at some of those same betting outlets, they now have the Bulls projected to win 41.5 games. And that's how this start has really changed the projection by the Bulls. Now, the Bulls are going to have to show it. They're going to have to prove it. In places like DraftKings, FanDuels, the odd makers are cool for a talking point, right? But the Bulls are going to have to, show that by what they do out on the court. I think this, like the thing that I've been saying coming into the year, I think that this is a team that could be 500 this season, and I think they could be slightly above. We still got to see this team with Zach Collins and Coby White, and not to put a lot all on that, but I think over the Bulls' 2 losses, you clearly see how and where Coby White can help this team. We got a voicemail more on that. We'll get into that more in a second. But if the Bulls were to finish 500 this season, right, it'll be their best since the 2021-22 season when we first got Lonzo and DeMar. And then we didn't have 500 or above wins before that because it was tough. So, not to say that we need to keep track of what DraftKings and FanDuel and all these places have the Bulls projected to win, because that really doesn't matter, right? It's a talking point before the season, but at this point now it's about what you do on the basketball court, how you perform. But I do think that, hey, this is a team that is showing that they have a competitive edge. Now, we got to go out there and show how we deal with adversity, because adversity is one of the biggest tests of the season, that every team goes to their own level of adversity. Some teams go through it early and they overcome it. It looks like the Detroit Pistons and Cleveland Cavaliers are 2 of those teams that went through some early adversity and they're going to overcome it. But then again, it's ebbs and flows of the season. There's going to be another wave of adversity for some of those teams. There's going to be another wave or several waves of adversity for the Bulls over the course of it. But tell you what, for them not to have back-to-back losses as of yet so far this season, I'm cool with that. Now, those back-to-back losses, that could change tonight as the Bulls take on the Cleveland Cavaliers today, and this is another chance for the Bulls to see how they respond after a loss. But let's be clear here. This is going to be a tough matchup for the Chicago Bulls. This is another test of the Chicago Bulls three-point shooting defense. Much like a lot of the things that the Bucks tried to do last night, the Cavs are going to try to do, but with even better defense, right? The Bucks came into that game, and they still are one of the worst defenses in the league. You have Donovan Mitchell averaging over 30 points per game. You have the Cavs as a whole, as a team, averaging over 120 points as a game. And the Cavs are shooting, a lot of shots. But if you're looking at something that the Bulls can try to exploit, the Cavs are 20th in field goal shooting percentage, meaning they get up a lot of shots, but they haven't been hugely efficient at it so far this season. They have a true shooting percentage of 16th and an effective field goal shooting percentage of 13th. So it shows that, they're not as bad as what the overall shooting would tell you, but they're not great either. They're not elite in that. But you know what they are elite at is two-way play. They own the 8th best net rating in basketball at positive 4.6. They have an 11th best offensive rating and a top 10 defensive rating at 7th. And so the Bulls are going to have to really look to exploit that. They're number 1 in three-point attempts per game, averaged out to almost 50 three-point attempts per game. They're getting up almost 50 three-pointers a game. That's crazy when you look at that, right? But the things that they are also really good at is playing those passing lanes. They have the 2nd best steal percentage in the game of basketball and a top 8 assist percentage. While they don't turn the ball over a lot either, they're about middle of the pack there, 15th in turnover percentage. So this is an efficient team that moves the ball around, that really, plays connected as a team and doesn't make a lot of the mental errors. And that's sometimes where the Bulls lack at. The Bulls have some good efficiency numbers, but they do lack at some of those mental errors at times, right? The Bulls are 15th in turnover percentage. And after last night's loss to the Milwaukee Bucks, the Bulls have fallen to the 16th best offensive rating in basketball, the 14th best net rating overall in basketball, and the 11th best defensive rating. But the things that have worked for the Bulls is assist percentage at 4th. We're still getting 69 percent of our buckets are assisted. True shooting percentage 8th, and effective field goal shooting percentage at 6th. The Bulls still take really smart shots, and they hit those shots at a really efficient rate because they are taking smart shots. And the Bulls' free throw rate is kind of falling off the cliff after the last couple of games. We got to get back to that, pushing pushing the issue there as far as trying to get to the rim, and that's something to look for. But it's going to be tough. With Jared Allen, Evan Mobley being there, it's going to be really tough for the Bulls to be able to do that consistently. Darius Garland has also played 2 games this season. Hasn't quite looked like himself as he's working himself back from injury. But unfortunately, as we know with the Chicago Bulls team, this is a team that absolutely you let players try to get their best game of the season against you, and it happens a lot for the Bulls team. So, we'll see what happens here. This is a game where the Bulls have to be locked in. The coaching staff has to have a really good game plan today. Now, for what it's worth, Lonzo Ball set out yesterday's game because he is probably playing on today. They're still not playing Lonzo Ball back-to-back. Now, we know what Lonzo, because when he's here, we've seen it. He's leading that team in assists. They use him in a similar way to how we use Lonzo Ball. And when he's on the court, he's really good for that team. And not to make it about him, when you got a team with Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell and those type of players, it's going to be tough for you. And everything, that whole starting five for that team is all a tough starting five. But so you're looking at that overall, and the Bulls have to watch out for this team. And if they don't, it's going to get ugly, and it can get ugly very quickly for this Bulls team. Of course, you only have two players averaging over 20 points. You have Donovan Mitchell. Evan Mobley's technically at 19.6 points per game, but I'm going to round it up and say he's 20. But they still do it as a team. This is a team that, much like the Chicago Bulls, they have 7 players averaging in double figures. You got to look out for that. And, they have their players that are playing their roles like Dean Wade and Lonzo Ball that help that team quite considerably play their style of basketball and get into their bag. So the Bulls have to look out for that. This is a test for the Chicago Bulls, and we'll see how they stand up to it, because this is not going to be an easy game. I'm going to be clear. This is not going to be an easy game, and so the Bulls are going to have to really outwork them. The Cavs don't give up many fast break points. They don't give up many points off turnovers. They don't give up many second chance points at all. So this is a game where we need Giddey, Vooch, and Modest to really find their rhythm early in this game to force the issue, to force the Cleveland Cavaliers issue on defense. But we're going to need the role players to step up big time. So you're looking at Trey. You're looking at P. Will off the bench. You're looking at, of course, Ayo Dosunmu. You're looking at these guys, Jalen Smith to have a solid game. You're looking at these guys to have a really nice role for the Bulls coming off the bench in this one, because if they don't, it can get ugly, and it can get ugly quick. So let's hope the Bulls are able to find that rhythm, and we'll see if they're able to get back in the win column after getting punched in the mouth against the Milwaukee Bucks yesterday. But with that said, it is still a mailbag day, even though it is a game day. But let's go ahead and get into these voicemails. We got 4 of them. This one's from AI Kid.
Yo, what's the word, Hayes? Bulls Nation. AI Kid. I was just calling, we just lost this shit. But, it was bound to happen. But I feel like I had said something in the comments. You had asked us, who was our, what player we got on the roster that gonna make biggest impact on our streak going into the season. And I said, don't be surprised if Billy able to make a few coaching decisions as the coach to, get us a few wins. But that's what I'm saying. I bring that to the same equation, because I think he's the reason we lost, because he never really made the adjustments we needed to stay in the game. And I think, the Knicks was playing. I ain't gonna say it was playing. The refs wasn't calling. They was trying to play like us, but they really can't. So the refs called it like they wanted to, because they was at home. But I think that's where we kind of gave out. We gave up. But at the same time, we got to make adjustments and changes, because it's a mental game. It's a chess game. So the fact that I seen a few plays where the offense, we just wasn't ourselves, because I think you could tell when the star needs help, right? And that's where Okoro was better. Not Okoro. That's when Ayo was better coming off the bench, because he knew how to get a bucket. So it's easier for him to come off the bench and get a bucket. Let me go ahead and speed it up. But it's easier for him to come off the bench and get a bucket, as opposed to him not having nobody that's coming off the bench and getting a bucket. Now he has started that can get a bucket and somebody coming off the bench. But when everybody's starting, don't know how to get a bucket, Giddey want to, take it into his own hands. And I feel like, as far as Trey, as far as Montes, as far as Vooch, they helping the offense run smoothly, but you got to go out there and get a bucket sometime. And I think with Ayo missing in action, it was up to Trey to step up. He did it too late. It was up to other people to step up, but it was really leaning on Okoro a lot of the times, and he got exposed for it. And I think that wasn't no coincidence. Josh, get tired of people that can't do nothing in his offense. And I just think Billy should have realized that, should have made some adjustments, and we could have been moved on, and we could have won that game.
Billy has done a great job generally at coaching this year. And keep in mind, I'm not even a Billy Donovan guy. I'm not a huge Billy Donovan fan. I've probably said more bad things about Billy Donovan than good since he's been the coach of the Chicago Bulls, just being honest, right? But like I say with everything, with players and with everything else, and one thing that I think people could really benefit from generally in this podcast game is that you got to update your takes when the results have updated. And Billy Donovan has generally done a really good job at coaching the Chicago Bulls team. Now, I do think we've seen some of the things that have had concerns about Billy Donovan over the years as well. For example, I don't think we always adjust the best when teams go on runs. I will give him the credit that I think we've done it better, more so than we haven't. But I think specifically in our 2 losses, those have both been games where we've given up pretty big runs and we have not allowed the team, or we have not necessarily adjusted the best to it, right? And so those are some of the things that we got to look at for Billy Donovan. But Billy Donovan's been a good job. And even like the runs thing, that's not all on Billy Donovan. That's on the players some as well. So as a team, as a unit, we got to get really good at that. And, I think Wes Unseld Jr. has done a really good job as the defensive coordinator basically for this Bulls team. And we'll just have to see how they adjust, because this is going to be a game tonight where those adjustments are going to stand out even more. So we'll see what they end up doing there. But great voicemail, Caden. Great points made there. And we'll see how the Bulls fare tonight. All right, let's get into this next one, man. This one is from Brian Washington.
Hey, Jay, it's your boy Brian Washington, man, from the West Side. I'm loving it, man. I'm loving it. These Bulls got me excited, man. And I'm going to say this. I'm excited to the point. I'm going to say this. If they keep playing the way they playing, man, we may be looking at 3 All-Stars this year. Maybe. At least 2. And I'm going to stand on that. Even if I'm wrong, I don't give a damn. I'm a true Bulls fan. I'm a believe shit. You know what I'm saying? But Josh Giddey, All-Star starter. And Vooch, the way he's playing, he deserves to be All-Star reserve, at least. And I say that because you got a lot of big men that's going to go before him, but I believe he at least deserves that reserve All-Star. You know what I'm saying? The way he's playing. And Vooch is going to be Vooch. He giving us what we need. All he ever needed was some backup. Vooch has never been a problem. Vooch going to be Vooch. And we need that from Vooch. And the way he playing with this group, I'm loving it. And the way Billy Donovan coaching these guys, man, it kind of remind me how in the way they playing, it kind of remind me how Phil Jackson coached the Bulls. Everybody just come here to do your fucking job. We brought Dennis Rodman here. We know Dennis Rodman can't score like that. You know what I'm saying? He can't score. We know he's not a scorer. He came here. We brought you here to rebound that ball and play great fucking defense. And he did just that. Everybody on the Bulls team played their fucking role. They did their job. We didn't need you to score. We got that. Same what you said with Okoro. You know what I'm saying? We brought him to play defense, and since the season started, that's what the fuck he's been doing. And as you can see, when Io, these past 2 games without Io, he stepped up and played. He scored. You know what I'm saying? In double figures, both games. So he's doing what we brought him to do. We don't really need him to score. Like you said, we got enough firepower, but he got this team ready. When one player go down, next player step up. And they doing this without one of our best players, Coby. And I'm going to say he's that third player. He could come in and make a case for the All-Star himself, along with Giddey and Vooch. So I'm going to stand on that. I'm looking for a successful season. I ain't saying championship, but shit, you never know. The way the game is changed. Anybody can beat anybody any damn day. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to put nobody on top of the Bulls. I'm glad I watched your video. I love that energy you brought there. Fuck all the haters. Give the Bulls some respect. I'm respecting that. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to say they go have, why not a fucking championship? What the fuck else we playing for? Even this year. Why not? I'm over exaggerating. I don't care. I'm going to look at the picture until it's over with. That lady ain't sung yet, so yeah, I'm seeing red, boy. I'm seeing red. Good day, y'all. Be red.
Now, I'm glad that I can inspire people to believe. But for the Bulls to have 3 All-Stars, the Bulls would have to be top 2 to 3 in the East at minimum. And I don't know if we're going to be there by February. We shall see. I still think we're going to have a really good record and still be that tough team. But having 3 All-Stars is typically really, really difficult for teams, especially modern. Now, as you said, Josh Giddey is playing at an MVP level. Nikola Vucevic is playing like a top 10 center in basically a lot of metrics. And guess what? Even defensive metrics Nikola Vucevic has been pretty damn good at this season. So, I mean, those two guys, I guess, will have a chance, especially when you look at the fact that in the Eastern Conference, there's like not a lot of great centers putting up crazy numbers right now. But, and I'm not worried about that. Look, at the end of the day, listen, the All-Stars, the accolades, those type of things will come if you win. So I'm more focused on the Bulls winning. Like, I get it's going to be a great talking point, and yeah, those players deserve to be celebrated if they do like make an All-Star game and things like that. Absolutely, not trying to take away from that, but I'm not looking at this like, oh my God, can we have three? I don't care about that. I care about this team getting wins. All the other stuff comes when your team's winning and performing well, and that's the thing that I want to focus on the most. And to your point, once Coby White is here, I think that the not only is Isaac Okoro going to get even easier shots, but I think on top of that, his offense is going to be needed even less. So the combination of getting easier shots because of the gravity of Coby White and playing with Josh Giddey at that time is going to get him even easier and more open shots, and your offense needing to be relied on more. I think that offense will come around enough, right? And I think for the most part, the season, his offense has been decent. We haven't needed to rely on it. And defensively, he's been pretty damn good. Now they're, getting into early foul trouble against Giannis. I know some people are going to look at it and say, well, Hayes, that wasn't his fault. It was the refs. I get where you're coming from that. I'm not going to knock you for that one, but I just want to see him hit the open shots more consistently is really what I want to see from him. And I think we'll get there. I really do think we'll get there. So, but played really good. And as you said, this Bulls team is really about everybody just doing their damn jobs. And if you do your jobs and the things that's your strength, this team is going to perform pretty damn well. So let's hope that continues. All right, let's get into this next one, man. This one is from Caden.
What up, Hayes, man? It's your boy Caden calling back, man. I had a couple thoughts again. I want to start the voicemail with thank you for everything you do. And that being said, so if the Bulls keep up what they've been doing, and there's no reason to believe that they can't, there's no indication to believe that they can't keep up this kind of play, and it will be reasonable to say that if they did keep up this kind of play, they're gonna be a playoff team, correct? So I need a lot of people to understand that Coby White is exactly the kind of player that this team is going to need in the playoffs. Baller to trade Coby White, rhythm. He's the kind of player that we don't have, and he's the kind of player that when that game slow down and when they key in the playoffs, he can go get a bucket against in a one-on-one situation, because inevitably when you get to the playoffs, they're gonna key in on Josh Giddey, and them drives aren't gonna be there. And maybe I'm thinking a bit too far ahead. Don't get me wrong, I'm a bit far ahead. It's still very early in the season. I understand that. But I think about stuff like that. It's like, sure, no one on this team is a quote-unquote selfish player, but you're going to need isolation baskets in the playoffs. And Coby White is the only player on this team who can get an isolation basket with any kind of consistency. So for the people thinking that Coby doesn't fit with this team, it's just asinine to think about. It's like, yes, Coby fits with this team. Coby is exactly what this team needs. And to be honest, if you could look at any of the negatives in this situation so far, out of all the positives, if you could look at any of the negatives, is that we're missing a player like that in rim protection. Which brings me to my next point. Walker Kessler got injured, season-ending injury. Do you think that's going to affect teams that want to go after him in the offseason? I surely hope it doesn't deter the Bulls from going after him. I hope that it just makes it easier for us to get a player like Walker Kessler next year, because even if you keep Vooch, even if you extend Vooch, which I know you and Pat think we're going to do, I think that's possible too. A player like that, even coming off the bench, or if you bench Vooch, however you look at it, man, we need a guy like that, bro. That'll take this team next level. Let me know what you think, man. Sorry for having the voicemail go so long. Like I said, man, thank you for everything you do. I love this team. You love this team. And I love that you love this team, bro. I'm about it.
Coby White slander is getting ridiculous. But what happens with Bulls fans, especially because, and again, this is no knock on anybody, but the thing that I've learned in doing this job is that most people who talk about sports don't really watch sports. And even the ones that do watch every game, they don't really understand what they're watching. They don't have really good basketball IQ, right? So what happens a lot of times is they hear one bad take, from either a major outlet or somebody that they do respect that is a content creator or whatever, and then they do zero actually looking into it on their own, and then they just reverberate those points, and then it's like a game of telephone. It gets worse, right? Because initially it's like somebody questioning, all right, is Coby going to mess up the flow when he first comes back? And let's say that question was thrown out more so because of Coby White being injured, and sometimes when players have to reacclimate to a team that's learned to play without them, there's a little bit of a hump there, right? So that's not even a negative thing. But then the next person takes that and say, oh yeah, by the way, yeah, Kobe's a chucker, which is not correct. And then the next person take that and say, we don't need somebody who takes bad shots like Coby. It's just, and it just snowballs. And it's just a bunch of dumbasses who don't really know basketball. But I'll say this, it is what it is. And Coby White needs to prove it when he gets back, and let's just silence all that at that point in time. And that's really all I have to say on that. But you're spot on about the team as well. You need some isolation scoring, not even just in the playoffs, but just in general. Like people who think, and again, this goes to another groupthink thing. People heard so much about isolation when Coby and DeMar, and now they'll say stupid things like, we don't need no isolation play. No, every good team has players that can score in isolation. Every good one. That's why a team like the Houston Rockets, that was a 50-win team, went out and find a guy who's elite in isolation scoring, because you need some of that. Now, what makes the Bulls special is spreading the ball around, but times that we've seen in our 2 losses, you need somebody who can score in going into isolation and just get a bucket. And Kobe's going to have to prove that he can be that guy at the most important moments for the Bulls this season, and we'll see. Now, as far as the injury to Walker Kessler, great question, by the way, but he's getting the same surgery that Ayo Dosunmu had. There's basically 100% recovery from that. That's not the type of surgery or injury where you're looking at long-term prognosis, negative prognosis about it. It's just that the surgery, where it is, you're not going to be able to heal to come back in the season in time. And so because of that, I think teams are going to be smart. I don't think if you really wanted Walker Kessler as a player, that surgery and that season ending, it's not going to stop you from wanting him because of them generally making 100% recovery. So I don't know if it makes it easier on the Bulls to get him or any other team. I think you're still going to have, maybe it does make it harder for if the Utah Jazz wanted to sign and trade it, maybe it makes it a little bit harder for them to get exactly what they wanted in that case, but we shall see. But Walker Kessler's still going to have his suitors, and rightfully so, because he's a really good player. All right, let's get into this last voicemail, man. This one's from Corn.
What's the word, King Drip? It's your brother Corn, man. Let's get right into this shit, man. Hey, tough one, right? And it's okay. And this is for, the Bulls fans, and me as well. I don't want us to get too caught up in the record so much, okay? I need to understand that this is a long season, and that we, as a team, will come back, will bounce back. And it's probably not going to be this next game. This is a tough month, and I want people to embrace this, man. This was not for us to. I'm gonna say this. This is for people that think that we was gonna be number 1 in the East heading in. Let's be factual about that. No, and that's okay. We know what we are, and this is fun, is what we see, and let's just have fun with this season. I don't want nobody to feel no ways or the world is about to end if we lose this next game to Cleveland. I need people to understand that, because I can already see it coming now. I could see the people that doubted us be saying, "Oh, I told you they was frauds," and the people that was already saying that we know Drip, we know what the fuck they were saying, and now this is their chance to kind of spin that narrative, but they can spin that narrative right up their ass. We know what this is, and we know this team is real, and we believe in this team, and I'm gonna stand by this team from the wins and the losses. Like I said, I'm just getting ready and prepared, because I know this is a back-to-back, and this back-to-back, holy moly guacamole, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough, y'all. So Just be prepared for it. If we take this L tomorrow, it's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the fucking world. This is a marathon. It's not a race. All right? So we gonna be all right. We gonna be all right, y'all. See red. All right, King Drip. Blessings. Shit.
Very tough stretch for the Bulls. Very tough stretch for the Bulls. Coming into this 4-game stretch that started last night with the Milwaukee Bucks, I basically said, can the Bulls go 2-2? Right? Can the Bulls go 2-2 over that stretch? So now it becomes, can the Bulls win 2 out of the next 3? Because these are all very tough games. Can you win 2 out of the next 3? And that's really like each kind of, I know it's not baseball, but like it's always like a little mini series in basketball, right? Like each week is this little mini series. And I think the way that I've worded it before is like, how many of the weeks can you win? Can you win the week, right? And then how many weeks can you avoid losing the week? Meaning walking out of that, even if you go 500 or whatever, how many weeks do you avoid having more losses than wins, right? And that's really what it becomes about, those little mini series within a season for a team. And can you do that? And when you start finding that, when you win the week, you may lose some tough games, you may win some easy games, whatever it is, but when you win the week, that's when you really get into the place of having a really great record. So, it becomes about, and in tough stretches like this, can you split the week, right? Can you go 500 over this week? If the Bulls go 500 over the 4-game stretch, which again started last night with Milwaukee, that will put them then at being 8-4 on the season, which is a really solid start to the season for a team like the Chicago Bulls. So, and I'm not counting them out and saying that's all they're going to win, but I'm just saying in being realistic about it, that's really what you need to do. So, we'll see what comes out of this, man. But if the Bulls lose tonight, the sky's falling. There are people wait, oh my God, we knew all this was a fluke. Oh my God, they can't beat the top teams. It's going to be all of that kind of whack narrative. But again, that's what fans do. Fanatics, it's going to happen. It is what it is. It's up for what the Bulls can prove on the basketball court. And let's see what they can do there. But that's my time for today, guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure you guys are following us at Bulls Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. bullcentralpod@gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, but that is thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See you right if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.